Welcome to the Circle Sessions featuring the Circle of Experts. The Circle of Experts are Yasmin Robles from Robles Designs, Tonnisha English Amamu of TJE Communications, and Don the Idea Guy. I'm Brett Johnson from Circle 27 Media Podcast Consultants. Each week, one of the Circle of Experts joins me to talk about some critical aspects of growing your podcast. We focus on marketing, social media, monetization, and website design to help you implement all of these together. This week, Tonnisha is here from the Circle of Experts. Tonnisha is on a mission to help small businesses level the playing field through digital marketing solutions. Tonnisha, thanks for joining me again today.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me as always.
Yeah. So you have a great, not that they all are all great topics, but it's always interesting to see trends on social media.
Yeah.
And especially
Mhm.
certain platforms that are very trendy.
Yeah.
Facebook doesn't seem to have those trends anymore. I just thinking about that.
No.
Used to be you heard all these different trends on Facebook, but it's like that's just not a trendy laced social platform anymore. But Instagram is still holding.
Yeah.
Instagram's still holding some
Yep.
trends along with a few others.
It's still holding.
But you found an article through Sprout Social talking about some
Mhm.
Instagram trends to be out on the lookout for this year. So let's go over some of those you saw.
Yeah. So, yeah, like you mentioned, Sprout Social put out an article about 9 Instagram trends to watch in 2024. So there are some that I think are going to be a little more relevant to our audience that I would, go into more detail on. But then there's a couple that maybe not so much, but we'll still mention them just so people know about them.
Hmm.
So the first thing should probably not be a surprise, but Sprout Social is saying that the number one trend for Instagram this year is that video is going to take priority over images. And I
Mm.
believe that we've already seen that, especially with the rise of TikTok being super
Oh,
popular and then Instagram implementing the reels. It's not really
mhm.
surprising that video is going to be number one.
Right.
Now, it doesn't say what kind of video. So if you're intimidated about putting your face out there, there are ways to still create content that maybe your face isn't necessarily in. You could have, a picture of your podcast guest with some audio behind the picture and maybe, words on the screen so that people who may have hearing disadvantages or disabilities can, still
Yeah.
know what's going on.
Mhm.
There's also been conversation around a lot of like faceless influencers. So
Hmm.
people who like you never see their face, you may only see their hands, or you may just see things that they're doing, but they have like millions of followers. Which is so interesting. But you can also take that route where maybe, you're showing your day to day, not your face. Maybe it's literally you picking up your keys and maybe putting your headphones on, but it's the back of you just putting your headphones on to listen to a podcast, and it's just the audio of the podcast playing. There's so many things that you can do when it comes
I
to
like
making a
that.
video,
I could
right?
live with a
So
faceless video trend. That's very cool. I love it.
yeah,
Yeah.
so, I recommend
Yeah.
people get creative with that. Don't think video as traditional,
Yeah.
I gotta hire a videographer to get this set up. I think the one of the good things about social media today is that people are kind of combing through like what feels real and what feels curated, what feels like this person is acting and not actually doing these things. And people actually I've seen make fun of creators in the comments amongst each other about, have you ever seen those videos where it's showing a person like waking up and getting out of bed? So people have made jokes like, so you got out of bed to set up your phone to show yourself getting out of bed. So try to keep it natural,
Yeah. Yeah.
to
Yeah.
keep it real. And I think there are going to be fun ways to implement video into your Instagram that are outside of like, straight up point and shoot with the camera.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, it's definitely more creative, and again, like you said, if you don't want
Yeah,
your face on it, to me, that seems like it might pull me in a little bit more too, going, "I don't really need to see this person, I wanna see what they're doing." Could be food prep
yeah.
or working on I've gotten into this, restoration videos now that, getting old
Mhm.
metal toys or old, these antiques that they're restoring. I don't see who this person's
Yeah.
doing it, but I'm seeing what they're doing. I
Right.
love it. I don't care what the person looks like. I wanna see what they're doing, and just it almost has this calming effect because they're just, it's that look of it, it's cleaning, it's like, "Oh my gosh, this is so cool."
People love that stuff. I
Yeah,
love watching people clean, like, deep clean spaces and
yeah,
looking at the products they're using, like, that's how Scrub Daddy got
yeah,
so popular again because people were using Scrub Daddies to clean, and
yeah,
it got big, and now they're, like, this huge company just from
yeah.
people cleaning
Right,
on TikTok,
right,
right?
right. Well, it's answering our problems that we're maybe
Yeah,
looking for. So, okay, it's not yes, it's partly entertainment, but it's like,
right.
I'm learning something here. This is and
Exactly.
I'm cool with not knowing what you look like. I don't care,
Right. Who cares?
honestly.
Show me the products
Honestly.
you're using, and is
Yeah,
there a code, a discount code, so I
exactly.
can
Oh, for
buy
sure.
them too.
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure, yeah.
So another one I'll kind of just quickly talk
Mhm,
about is Sprout Social is saying that social media content is going to be empowered with AI, but they're mostly talking about like AI generated stickers that can be used in Instagram stories, starting a chat with AI so you can ask for recommendations and advice and
mhm,
talk about interests and even follow AI profiles and the content that they post.
hmm,
I'm curious to kind of see how that goes before we really dive into it. And then it also mentioned AI backdrops for stories. So, like when you share a photo with your
mm,
story, you can use this like AI backdrop tool to create a background based on a text prompt that you enter. So that's like mostly super story heavy, and then
mm,
also following, different profiles for inspiration, but definitely something to note.
hmm,
Now, this one I think is really cool. Is increasing engagement with community experiences. So I don't know if you guys have noticed that Instagram has launched these broadcast channels over the last year where different profiles, like I know, so I'm a huge Nicki Minaj fan, and I also love Fallout Boy. And they've launched broadcast channels where the artists can share updates that are like exclusive to the community. Like, hey, I'm going to go live on Station Head, or hey, we're dropping merch for the tour, but like you guys have the link first before everybody else. Or just to, update the community on different things that are going on. I've seen it from artists and musicians, even business owners and influencers have launched these broadcast channels. It's almost like an Instagram DM, but
mm,
to like millions of people. And you control who can post inside of the broadcast channel. So, of course,
right,
for some of these people with millions of followers, nobody's allowed to post in it
right,
like they post. But I have seen broadcast channels that have a little bit more engagement. So, that could be a great way to start to create. More close relationships with your followers, and people can opt in, so it's not like you create it and everybody's in there and they're going to get mad
mhm.
about it. People can opt into your broadcast channel, so that's something to think about.
Yeah,
um,
sounds like a lot of bonus content potential for
Yes,
a
tons of
podcast or
bonus
something.
content,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Which also falls into the subscription on
Mhm,
Instagram. I have seen creatives and influencers launch, you can pay like 9.99 to get
mhm,
exclusive content. So that's also another route that you can take. I know I've mentioned before being a huge fan of Payne Lindsay that I
mhm,
pay for Tenderfoot TV through Apple Podcasts, but if you're able to offer, exclusive content through Instagram, that's a great way to not only grow your community, but potentially grow your following, and, help with that organic reach across the platform.
right. And I would say the one thing, if you're looking at doing it, and this is not a negative, it's
Hmm.
reality of it. If you're gonna walk into the space doing it, then you need to be there. You got to
Yeah.
be there because people are depending on you to create content that's worth $10 a month to them.
Oh, yeah.
So you just
Mhm.
can't, it's like, oh, this is a great idea, then burn out on it in 3 months.
Yeah,
You have a game
exactly.
plan. Have a, I mean, because I love the idea, but you have a game
Mhm.
plan.
Yeah,
Have
that's
a
a good
game
point.
plan, and know that you're going to live in that space from
Mhm.
now on.
Yeah,
You know,
that's a really
to
good
a certain
point.
degree. But
Mhm.
boy, if it works, you do it. I mean, that's
Yeah,
great.
why not,
Yeah,
right?
exactly,
Me
exactly.
personally, that's what I worry about is the burnout. Like,
Mhm.
would I be able to create $10 a month worth of, because I mean, in this economy, like $10 maybe isn't a lot in the grand scheme of things, but when you're really, look at your budget. For example, I put a pause on my HBO Max during the writer's strike because none of my shows are
Mhm.
even filming right now. So why am I going to pay this $14, $16 for something I'm not even using?
Right,
So people, even though that may seem small in the grand scheme, it's still another area that I can cut costs.
right.
So thinking about that, just like you said, make sure you have a plan if you are interested in bringing people in for that paid subscription
Yeah.
content.
Plus
Good point.
reminding them that you have the new content that
Mm-hmm.
they pay for to bring them back in because that would be
Exactly.
analytics you look at going and go,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you have 100 subscribers, but only maybe 50 are coming in. Well, what's
Active.
wrong
Yeah.
with the other 50%? What's
Mm-hmm.
going on? And will you potentially lose them?
Yeah. Exactly.
So
Exactly.
it's not just one little playground. It's like, oh wait a minute, we
Mm-hmm.
still have to bring them in with the new people,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's kind of hard to value what is $10 worth to someone. Yeah,
Yeah, because for
it's
me,
difficult.
like, I like the idea of the broadcast channel because it's
Hmm.
basically like a bulletin board, like a
Yeah,
digital bulletin board. But I'm not so sure on the subscription
yeah,
part because for me, it's again, I'm always thinking about like what we talked about in our last episode about owning your people.
yeah.
So it's like, why would I use Instagram for exclusive content when I can use maybe a third party like a Patreon or,
Hmm.
adding some exclusive thing on my own website for
Right.
people to pay to, just
Yeah,
in case this platform isn't working or it's
yeah,
shut down, that people still have access to, the things I want them to have access to.
yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So
So
something to think about.
there's pros and cons to all of it,
Hmm.
and where do you want your fans to be?
Yeah,
You
for
know,
sure.
and if it's dragging them to a .com and they really are living in Instagram, well, then,
Hmm.
okay, meet them there. That
Yeah.
makes sense. That makes sense. But
Mhm.
if it's gonna be very difficult to get them to your .com because they just aren't using their smartphone that way,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of pieces that you need to understand about your audience, what they're doing, what
Mhm.
they're not doing,
Yeah.
without it becoming a hurdle and going, "Oh, well, this is just too much. I can't do it." Sometimes it's
Right.
just like, you gotta jump in and do it. You
Yeah,
just
just
you
try it and
you
see,
never know when that party is just gonna pop up and going, "Wow, this really blew up. This is
Yeah.
good." Yeah, you just gotta try it.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. What
Highly
else you
recommend just jumping in there.
Yeah, exactly. What else you seeing?
Yeah, so I'm also seeing if anyone has noticed that instead of only having one link in our bio, you can now
Mm,
have up to 5 links in your Instagram bio now. So a lot of people, myself and
mhm,
other clients that I've worked with, have used like Linktree or maybe created a hidden page on your website for the links in your bio. But
mhm,
now you can have up to 5, which is great because I still think there is a place for like a link tree to keep
okay,
or a hidden page because you can include those links that are never going to go away, like the link to your website, maybe a link to subscribe to a YouTube channel or a podcast or a place
mhm.
for exclusive content. But let's say you're having an event and it's like a one-off thing,
Oh,
that way you don't have to log into your link tree to add a link. I'm infamous for like adding a link to Linktree, but then forgetting to remove it when the event is over. So if you just, can drop those links in there, those things that may have like a time frame on when this link is necessary, you
okay.
can use the additional space for.
Okay, good, okay. No, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good, yeah.
So I know Yasmin will love this one. That a trend is boosting visibility using SEO on Instagram.
Hmm.
So, Sprout had a statistic that said last year a combined 29% of Gen Z and millennials flocked to social media platforms instead of actual search engines to find information. So we are seeing an uptick of people, if you're looking for
Hmm.
something, that instead of going to Google or Bing or Yahoo, you're going to a social media platform.
Hmm.
And this actually makes sense. Myself being a millennial, I often go to TikTok as a search engine, and Twitter or X or whatever.
Hmm.
I think it's mostly because going back to that number one, the video aspect.
Hmm.
So if you're looking for, how to, cute hairstyles or, concert outfits, or maybe you're looking up quick, easy meals, you want to actually see
Yeah.
somebody doing the thing that you're
Mhm.
asking for. So I think that's probably where the push is.
Okay.
So thinking about that, of course, you want to find the right, keywords when you're
Hmm.
making posts. So thinking about optimizing your subtitles and your captions on your posts, even following and engaging with similar contacts, or I'm sorry, similar accounts is
Okay.
going to help, build up your profile. Also adding that alternative text to your posts.
Okay.
A lot of people don't do this. I'm guilty of, often
Yeah.
forgetting to do this, but that's also going to be a great way to help boost your SEO on Instagram. Thinking about trends, but of course, I believe in making sure that the trends still make sense and tie back to who you are as a business owner.
Yeah.
I think it's okay to, like, maybe do some of the fun stuff here and there, but I wouldn't just hop on every single trend if it doesn't necessarily make sense with what you're doing.
Yeah. That could
And
be a lot of work and a lot of wasted time.
exactly, a
Yeah.
lot of wasted
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And then, thinking about Instagram's official guidelines and rules. When you break the rules, your account suffers. And I have also seen, because I have a couple clients who work in the nonprofit space and primarily focus on injustices or disenfranchised people or issues in the world. And when there's big things going on, like, all the wars that we have,
Hmm.
sometimes when we talk about those things, I have seen Instagram kind of suppress that content a little bit in the beginning. I think not because they don't want to share it. I do think on the back end, probably their systems are maybe either verifying the information that's being
Hmm.
shared, and then also, combing through the information to make sure that whatever we're saying doesn't affect, break any community
Okay.
guidelines or cause anybody harm. So thinking about that too, when you're posting content, is just being mindful to follow the community guidelines to keep
Mhm.
everybody safe and make it a welcoming space for everybody. Because
Right.
not doing that will impact your engagement and visibility on the platform.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. That makes sense. So
Mhm.
I want to take a minute. Let's take a
Mhm.
look at one old trend that
Mhm.
came to mind while we're talking
Mhm.
about was the Instagram takeovers. So
Yeah.
is that still, kind of we're looking backwards now. Is that are you still seeing takeovers
You
happening?
know, not as much, but that
Mm.
actually goes into the next one
Okay.
where there have been an increase in people creating brand partnerships and
Hmm.
collaborative posting. So instead
Okay.
of me, let's say, I want to take over an Instagram, or let's say we post a video of the podcast. Instead of me posting a piece of content and then you posting a piece of content, I can post it or you can post it. You can add me as a collaborator. So then that way, if
Okay.
people are on my Instagram, they see our post. If they're on your Instagram, they see our post. So then my followers are being exposed to your followers and vice versa.
So
So
you're creating a collaborator situation
yeah,
for
so it's a
X amount of time.
collaboration. So it's
Yeah.
actually forever. It's a
Oh, forever.
forever
Oh.
collaborative post in the feed. And I've seen a lot of people do that, which helps to, bring in new eyes to different
Mhm.
accounts. A lot of times when I see collaborative posts, I tend to click and see who's all a part of it. And, you
Mhm.
may want to dive deeper and see who the people are.
How do you know that it is that
So
when you
it'll
see it?
actually show you. So whoever posted it in the
Mhm.
caption, it will just show like TJE. But
Mhm.
when you look at the top, when you look at the profile picture, it may have like 3 other pictures at the top. And
Ah.
that'll show you that it's a collaborative post.
Nice, okay.
Yeah.
Just for the
So
sake of anybody, and I may have seen it, not thought didn't
mhm.
know that it was, but at least moving
Yeah.
forward now, the listeners can kinda go, "Oh, that's what Tanisha was talking about. This is
Yeah.
cool," sort of
So
thing, and just
that's a
see.
great thing
I
to
like
do
that.
for if you have guests coming on to
Mhm.
say like,
Yeah.
"Hey, I'm gonna make a post at
Mm.
this time. I'm gonna add you as a collaborator." Now, the person on the other end does have to accept the
Mhm.
collaboration invite, but once they accept it, it's gonna show up on both profiles.
Yeah. So
Um,
if you were to remove
mhm,
them as a collaborator, let's say in a week's time, does that post
mhm.
then go away as a
It'll
collaborator?
it'll go away for the other person, but it
Gotcha.
it will still stay on your page.
Whoever initiated. Okay, okay.
Yeah,
So
whoever
okay.
that's the word.
Gotcha.
Whoever
Yeah.
initiated it.
Okay.
But something to note,
Mm.
now hopefully they fix this, but if you make a post and you go, "Oh shoot, I forgot to add this person as a collaborator,"
Mhm.
you can't go back and add them. You would have to delete the
Oh.
post and then do it again.
Mm.
So it's different from like tagging a person.
Mhm.
So you'll see that when you go to make a post, there will be the option to tag or collaborate. So
Mm.
tagging is, the traditional, they're tagged in the post, but that collaborative piece is what you are looking for to make sure it's like a cross post in the
Yeah.
feed. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the
I
only
see.
thing that
Yeah.
sucks is that once you do it, it's over. You gotta like go
Yeah.
back and start over.
Yeah. I see so many more benefits. I mean, again,
Mhm.
there's always negatives to every
Mhm.
positive than the Instagram takeover.
Yeah.
I like that, because
Mhm.
the Instagram takeover always seemed to be, to me, a lot of work. Okay,
Yeah.
great. But, if you're used to posting a lot on your own Instagram page, that's great, and you just wanna,
Mhm.
swim in a different ocean, totally
Yeah.
get it. But it does have to make sense why you did it. The
Right.
takeover, and so maybe a little bit more thought about, "Okay, this is a whole new audience, how do I talk to them?"
Yeah.
Potentially, but here it's collaboratively, you already know you have pretty much kind of the same audiences probably, but
Mhm.
you're trying to bring them all together. That would be one strategy. Oh, I love that. I think
Yeah.
that's a very cool
Yeah, and
idea.
you can collaborate on, if you still wanna do the video piece, you
Mhm.
can collaborate on Instagram Reels too.
Yeah.
Is an option. Stories, not quite yet. You
Okay.
can't collaborate, but of course, if you tag somebody in your
Mhm.
story, they can share it. But
Yeah.
right now on post and reels, you can do that
I
collaboration.
like it. That's cool. That may be the strongest one
Yeah.
we're seeing. That's cool. I love it. I
Yeah, I've
love it.
seen a
Yeah.
lot of that, and I've done it too. I've done it
Okay.
myself, as well, and yeah, it helps
Get
to bring more
get up.
visibility to your page.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Got it. That's cool. You're
Yeah.
almost through your list. Are you go
I
through almost
know,
you might as
right?
well
I
go,
have I
yeah,
have a
finish it
few
off. Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
So this one wasn't really one I thought was super important, but then you kind of mentioned food. So food content is trending on Instagram. So I guess if you're a
Yeah.
podcaster that maybe focuses on food or
Yeah.
restaurants, they say that 45% of users ages 18 to 34 have been interested in vegan recipes,
Mhm.
and 42% are interested in plant-based.
Yeah.
So we believe that the reason why food content may be trending more is because, the economy, people want to save money and cook at
Yeah.
home.
Yeah.
And then also I thought about this, this millennials, we're coming up on being the new elders of the family at some
Right.
point. And, if your grandma is still here. Hopefully, she's able to pass down recipes, or if not, that's a place that you're gonna go. So I hosted Christmas for my whole family this year, and I definitely utilize Instagram and TikTok looking up recipes to make sure that
Mhm.
my mac and cheese was gonna be,
Right.
spot on, that everybody liked it. I think my first time cooking, I'm not a big turkey person, but I cooked a whole chicken for Thanksgiving, and I wanted to make sure it wasn't going to be dry.
Yeah.
I make sure it was seasoned. So, I looked up those recipes online.
Hmm.
So a lot of us are also coming into having families.
Yeah.
I've been married for almost 2 years. Now I got 2 kids, so I gotta cook for my family. So
Hmm.
I don't know what to cook. I never cooked before I was married. So like what do I
Right.
do?
And and
So
and
I
then
think a
and then
lot of
the magic of leftovers after that too. It's like, okay,
exactly, what can
we
I
just
do with
spent
this? Right?
continually making the same meal and it's gone. It's like, let's make enough for leftovers and how do we make, yeah, tons of
Right.
totally different nuances. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and even with Gen Z, they're coming out of college
Hmm.
and moving into their own apartments or homes, and
Yeah.
now they're on their own and they got to cook their own dinner.
Yeah.
So lots of trending videos and content when it comes to food.
Yeah.
Um, there's also an opportunity to leverage user generated content. This is number 8.
Hmm.
But a lot of people are leveraging user generated content. So even thinking about like a restaurant. I actually have a friend who lives in New York, and he started doing this thing on TikTok, and now he has like a ton of followers where he goes and tries chicken wings from different places.
Hmm.
And he'll go to, Chinatown or wherever, no matter where he's at, even if he's not in New York, if he's traveling, he's like, oh, they have the best wings. I have to try them. And of course, now this is like content that Wingstop could use or some
Yeah.
mom and pop shop can use. Even there's this guy on TikTok named Keith Lee. I
Hmm.
don't know if you've heard of Keith Lee,
No, no.
but he is I guess like a TikTok food critic, if you
Okay.
will. And he has truly like he gives honest reviews. If he doesn't like it, he'll say he doesn't like something.
Hmm.
If he does, he'll say that he does. And because of his honesty, I mean, he has helped like mom and pop restaurants go from like 5 customers a day to like lines out the door just from
Wow.
his reviews. So that's definitely user generated content that people
Hmm.
can use. So thinking about if you do have the type of podcast or business where user
Hmm.
generated content would be something you could leverage,
Yeah.
that is a trend
Yeah.
that we're seeing on
Yeah.
Instagram.
Even if it's like a piece of your podcast, let's say it's a
Mhm.
a a section that you always do it with every episode. It could be
Mhm.
just a way out thing, but just yeah, like for example, like you said, maybe it's that favorite coffee of the day or something. That's right. What do we drink?
Yeah.
What coffee are we
Mhm.
drinking today? You could piece that out and maybe do a series
Mhm.
of what's the best coffee on the road. Who has the best
Yeah.
coffee? 7-Eleven or
Mhm.
BP or whatever. There are little things that you can pull
Yeah.
from it and do a full circle kind of feel to it. Yeah, no, that makes
Definitely.
sense. That
There's
makes
so
sense.
many things. I mean,
Yep.
I just thought about, even if you have a business podcast, like what we're doing,
Mhm.
talking to business owners and podcasters, if somebody's making a video talking about how, you know, fixing up their website helped them
Mhm.
grow their business and they heard about it on the circle sessions, like that's something that, we can use as
Yeah.
content too.
Yeah. Right.
And
Right.
even there was a podcast I used to listen to. I don't think they're around anymore. It was called Stride and Saunter.
Mm. Hmm.
And it was this guy. His name was Kip Clark, I think. And his voice was very like relaxing and monotone, so it was like nice to listen to while I was working. And I think I might have tweeted something about the podcast, and they sent me a DM, and they ended up mailing me a sticker
Oh, no
of
way.
the podcast, yeah. And I put it on my laptop at the time and, like, took a picture of it, and they were able to use that on their social media,
Oh,
just like, "Hey, one of our listeners with our
yeah.
sticker," like, a sticker, but
So
it's still,
simple.
showing
So
yeah, it's so
simple.
simple.
Yeah.
So simple.
And it costs
Yeah,
pennies to mail, and you
exactly.
you get all that
Mhm.
out of it. Yeah. Oh my
And
gosh.
it made me feel as a listener like, "Oh my gosh," like, Kip Clark sent me a sticker.
And
How
you're
cool,
still
right?
talking about it, even though
And I
the
still
podcast
think
may not
about
be
it.
around. Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. It
Yeah.
worked. It worked.
Yes, of
Yep.
course.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And then, lastly, I think all the ones that we talked about so far have been fun and
Mhm.
creative things to try, but this one is probably the worst trend. Is that paid promotions expand your reach on Instagram,
Mhm.
which I think we also knew that we have to pay to play, which
Yeah.
nobody wants to do or enjoys doing, but Sprout has predicted that we will see more paid promotions
Yeah.
across Instagram to help expand reach. Now, I think that if you're able to do 1 through 8, then you may not need to necessarily pay to expand your reach. Your audience may do it for you. I mean,
Right.
I've probably mentioned Payne Lindsay on every single
Right.
Circle Sessions episode that I've ever been a
Yeah.
part of.
Yeah.
So even if you didn't know who he was, you've
Yeah.
probably gone and looked him up just to see.
Mhm.
So I think, when you create those connections with your audience and you're engaging your community, you're posting good content, people will naturally do that work for you. They'll
Yep.
promote you just because they like who you
Mhm.
are and they enjoy listening to you and being a part of your community.
Yeah, there's not a time that I don't have, and let's go back to this point that I'll
Mhm.
talk about what I do, and of course I'm
Mhm.
working with the multiple numbers of podcasters that I work with, but it always comes back to, so what's your favorite podcast? If you can
Mhm.
do these little things like this and break to the top of the fold of your listeners advocating for you in that conversation, you win.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
how do you stay fresh with them? How do you stay that, try to be that top 3 podcast that when someone asks you
Mhm.
that, what are your favorite podcasts?" That it's right at the tip of your tongue. And it's hard.
Yeah.
You'll never realize that you're doing it. You just don't.
Mhm.
But if that's your goal,
Yeah.
if that's kind of in your back of your mind, create content that is shareable, that people will continue to talk about, that people feel
Mhm.
like if I share it, I look smart.
Yeah.
If you create that and use all these tools you just talked about in regards to the trends on Instagram, use it smartly.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're right. Number 9 doesn't necessarily have to come into play. You don't have to pay
Right.
to be there. Now, again, maybe there's a special situation. You just want to break the algorithm, kind of, you know what? Let's put a few
Yeah.
extra bucks on this. We need to do it. That's
Mhm.
okay. I think
Mhm.
paying for that stuff is justified at some points in time. Sometimes,
Yeah, yeah,
but
for
not
sure.
but not consistently. It's not. I think there are a lot of other
No,
ways that
and I feel
more
like
fun. It's more
until
fun too. Yeah.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
and I think I also, have said this to clients when, they wanna spend money on social media advertising is, let's try all these other things
Yeah.
and do them really well. And if we still just can't like break through, then at that point, I think we try
Mhm.
paid promotions.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I still have hope in organic reach, and I've seen it work, and I've seen it work well for people. So, like you said, special occasion, maybe it's an event or something
Yeah.
cool that you're doing. You
Yeah.
want to,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Sure.
hmm
There
And
there's
also doing paid promotions, being smart about it.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't do a paid, there is an option to promote to people that follow you or people that are connected to your followers. Like, I would, if I had a true crime podcast, I'm promoting to everybody that loves Tenderfoot TV, everybody that loves crime junkies, everybody that was interested in the
Mhm.
serial
Mhm.
podcast. Like that's what that's who I want to reach, people who love that.
Yeah.
So even thinking about your I guess you can technically call them competitors in the
Mhm.
podcast space, especially those bigger ones, can you promote to their audiences? A lot of times you can do that. You
Yep.
can actually target their audiences. Think about who your ideal listener is and create an audience for them. So, is your ideal listener, moms who are 30 and older who don't have time to, cook meals from scratch?
All right.
and maybe you're offering content that's going to help make their
Yeah.
lives easier. So you want to promote to those people.
Right.
So if you are going to pay to play, do it smart.
Right.
But you
Exactly.
talked about SMART goals this year. So,
Yes, that is one. Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
It's
Hmm.
very easy to buy this stuff and you think it's gonna, okay, just put $20 against or whatever, whatever the thing is.
Yeah.
That doesn't
Hmm.
mean it's $20. Yeah, it's easy to pull the trigger on 20, $25, $30, whatever. But
Right.
you do that
Right.
multiple times, all of a sudden you're looking at it's like, wow, we spent $500 over the last 2 months. What do we got from it?
Yeah.
That it starts to turn into real money. Real
Yeah.
money that
Yeah.
is it better spent somewhere else? That,
Mhm.
okay, maybe you have it
Mhm.
budgeted, but that doesn't mean you should spend it that way. Just always
Right.
evaluate. It's the SMART goals. Exactly. Goes right back to
Yep.
that episode we did about SMART goals. You said at the beginning of this where of your of your beginning of your year, whatever. Here's what you want to
Mhm.
do. Is it counter or is it helping? Push it.
Yeah.
Give that
Mhm.
little extra push. Yeah. So
Yeah.
how can a listener get a hold of you? Especially, maybe they want to talk a little bit more about that collaborator that you did and how you did it.
Yeah.
How can they get a hold of you to talk to you a little bit more about how you what you did,
Yes.
why you did it, and what were the results?
Yes, so you can find me at tjecommunications.com and schedule a free 15-minute consultation. I do them every Tuesday, and I'm also on social media as Tanisha J English Amamu or TJECom. That's TJECOMM.
Great. And you can connect with me if you'd like to talk more about this or your podcast. Again, any ideas that you want to move forward with, hey, I've got a podcast. And it's like, but we're something you said in that episode with Tanisha that we'd like to pull this and do this. Yeah, get a hold of me. I'll bring Tanisha along too. And let's expand on this and figure out how you can make it work. My calendar is available at Circle 270 Media Podcast Consultants business website. That's at circle270media.com. Or if it's easier to remember, just go to mypodcastguy.com as well too. So Tanisha, thanks. This was a great list. I'm excited to see
Yes.
how this comes out in the year's time and to look at Instagram a little bit differently.
Yes. Thank you for having me. This was great.